Hey crafters, I hope your Tuesday is going well. This week we're going to do another kind of back to school kind of theme, and we're going to be making a fun paper bracelet like this. I feel like this is like so middle school. I feel like that's when everybody was making them, but I actually only recently finally got the hang of how to make these, and so I thought I would show you because it's just a great back to school project. You know, if you want to make friendship bracelets or as an after school project, it's a great craft for kids of all ages. I even had fun doing it, and I think they turn out really cute and they're easy to make. So we're going to need a couple different things for this project. You're obviously going to need paper. I'm going to be using just regular construction paper, and I'm doing this like yellow and black because it's my school colors. The next thing you're going to want is a way to measure and a way to cut. One option is to use a ruler, scissors, and a pencil, and I'll show you that method. The way that I prefer, just because it goes a lot faster, is to use a paper slicer. I have this one here by Fiskars, and it has this nice arm that swings out that I can use to measure. You can see it has different markings on there. So I'll show you how I do it with both ways. But that's the nice thing. These are the only things you need, just paper, a way to measure, and a way to cut. So let's look at how you actually do this project. To make a paper bracelet, we're going to need to cut out a bunch of little pieces of paper like this, and then we're going to fold these and we'll connect them together to make a bracelet. So let's look at how we get the paper strips. You're going to want each strip to be 4 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. So if you don't have a paper cutter, that's okay. You can just take your ruler and a pencil. And this sheet of paper here is 12 inches by 9 inches, so it works out really nicely where you end up with 18 of these little pieces from one sheet of construction paper this size. So I'm going to cut it this way, 4 inches, and this way, the 1.5 inch mark. So I'm just going to measure along the paper, line up my ruler, and I'm going to mark every 4 inches. So the 4 inch mark, the 8 inch mark, and then obviously the 12 and the end are already there. Gonna slide this down, do another mark at 4 inches and 8 inches, and then do a third set of marks, once again at 4 inches and 8 inches. Then I'll take my ruler, line it up along these marks here, and draw a line across. And that's going to be how long these paper strips are. Do the same with these other markings. Then the last thing I need to do before I start cutting out along these lines is I need to measure every 1.5 inches. So it's going to take a little bit of math. Maybe your teachers will let you count this as homework. So we're going to mark at the 1.5, 3 inch, 4.5, 6 inch, 7.5. And just like we did the last time, we're going to do 3 sets of marks so that way we can get it consistently even instead of just having one mark and kind of ending up with angles. This will keep the line straight. So once again, every 1.5 inches. So 1.5, 3 inches, 4.5, 6 inches, 7.5. Do it a third time up here. And then once more, I'm just going to draw lines connecting the marks. And you do want your lines to be pretty precise. They don't have to be perfect, but the more accurate you are with your measurements, the better the bracelet will turn out. Now that I have my paper all marked up, each of these is a strip, so then I can just take my scissors and snip away. The second method to get your paper strips, which is the method I prefer just because it's easier, and paper slicers are always a good investment, so if you're looking for one, I recommend this one by Fiskars. It's a great product. So I'm going to start by swinging out this arm here. It has some additional markings on it, different measurements. And once more, I'm going to need to cut my paper just like I did this one. I find that it's easier to cut it into the thin strips and then stack them up and then cut these way. So what I mean by that is we're going to start with the paper long ways against here. Just lift up this arm. And as I mentioned earlier, this distance here is 9 inches. So the measurements on this arm here measure from the slice. So if I hold it right here at 9 inches and I were to slice, well, that's just the edge of the paper. There's nothing there to slice. So I want to have 1.5 inches on the right side of where the slicer cuts. So if you want to think about it this way, it's lined up at 9 inches here, but I want to shift it over 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to subtract 1.5 from 9, which is 7.5. So there's 7 inches, and there's a 7.5 inch mark. So I'm just going to line the paper up at that mark. Make sure this edge is flush because I don't want it to be crooked or else my cuts will be crooked. But just line it up nice and flush with the 7.5 inch mark and with the edge, and then just slice. And so we're going to keep repeating this process. Every time we need to make a slice, we're going to slide the paper over 1.5 inches. So we're at the 7.5 inch mark, so to slide it over 1.5 inches puts us at 6 inches. And then we're going to slice. Do it again, and we're going to line it up at 4.5 inches, at 3 inches, and at 1.5 inches. Now that we have our paper cut into 1.5 inch thick strips, we need to just make each of these strips, divide them into 4 inches long. I'm going to take 3 of them at a time. So since it's 12 inches long, 12 minus 4 inches brings us to 8. So I'm going to line up this end at the 8 inch mark, so that way 4 inches is hanging off over here. Once again, I want to make sure my measurements stay pretty accurate. And then line up at the 4 inch mark. And now I have my paper slices just about all ready. So I'll just need to finish slicing these ones and finish slicing the black paper. So now that I've got my nice assortment of paper pieces here, it's time to fold them. The way we're going to fold them isn't too hard, but you do want to make sure that you keep things lined up pretty well. So there's going to be what we do called hotdog folds. That's where we fold it the long way in half. And there's going to be hamburger folds, where we take the long ends and bring them together like that. So we're going to start with a hot dog fold, and we're just going to take it and line this edge up. Once it's nice and lined up, I'm just going to crease it. So I just got it folded in half like that, pretty basic. And then what's going to happen is we want to fold each of these flaps inward. So to make that easier on ourselves, we're going to first take this piece that we folded in half, and we're going to fold it in half, hot dog style, one more time. And again, you want to make your creases pretty sharp. That'll make things easier for you. So now I'm going to open this up. This is my middle fold. This side's all nice and ready to fold in, but this side's folding the wrong way. But I do have a crease there, so I'm just going to lay it on the table, and I'm going to fold it back on itself and basically make the crease go the opposite direction. So really make nice sharp creases so it looks like this. And then I'm going to fold this in half. So basically what we've done is we've taken a paper like this, folded it in half this way, and then folded both sides in, and folded all that in half, so we have this nice piece. And this piece will be 1/4 of the thickness of the full size of the strip. So once we're at this point, we're going to do some hamburger folds, which is where we bring the long ends together. So I'm just going to kind of pinch it here in the middle with my fingers, and fold the ends towards each other, line them up once more, and then pinch the bottom. So you can see that this whole big thing is getting folded like this. And now to finish it off, I'm going to take this end, and I'm going to bring this end to the middle, and pinch this side, so it's looking like this. Do the same thing with the other side, bring the end into the middle, pinch it, so it looks now like this, and I've still got that nice fold in the middle, and I'm going to fold it in half just like this. So you want to take all your paper strips and fold them into this shape. I'll show you one more time. We'll go a little faster. I'm going to do a hot dog fold in half this way. Do a second hot dog fold in half the same way. Going to open it up. Fold this side in. I need to reverse the direction of this crease, so I'm just going to lay it on the table. Fold it back on itself, so that way that crease now goes the opposite direction. Looks something like this. And then I'm just going to fold this in half. That's the first half of the steps. Looks like this. Now I'm going to take this whole thing and fold it in half hamburger style, where I bring the long ends together, pinch this base here. Then I'm going to bring this end to the middle, fold it in, give the corner a nice pinch. Do the same with the other end, bring it in, pinch, and fold it in half. So they kind of unfold a little bit, but you want to end up with a bunch of little pieces like this. For me, it's going to take about 20 to 24 of these little pieces because I have a small wrist. Depending on the size of your wrist, you may need more or less. So I would start with doing about 10 to 12 of each color, and that should get you in the right range for making your bracelet. Alright, so now I've got all my pieces folded up, and here's where things get fun. We get to start assembling. So if you look at this guy right here, you've got these little pockets right in here. You can kind of pucker that out. Got a little pocket in here and a little pocket in here on this side too. So the basic idea is we're going to take my loops, make sure they're folded up all the way. If they come unfolded, just take them and fold it back in half. And the idea is we're going to take the open ends of this and slide it through the open ends of the other one. Now there's a couple things to keep in mind. You can see on one side the edges are nice and folded, but on this side it's not a nice smooth folded edge. I'll show you that one more time so you can really see that. So when I assemble them, I want to start with this nice side facing towards me. And then I'm going to take this black one here. Now this black side has a nice edge and it has a rougher edge. I want the nice edge facing down. So the yellow, I'm going to have the nice edge facing me. On the black, I'm going to have the nice edge facing down. And I'm going to take this black piece and I'm going to slide the left side through the opening there. And take the right side and slide it through the opening there. Give you some different views here so you can see what's going on. And then I'm just going to push them together and they're going to interlock like this. You can kind of adjust them, fold them as much as you need to get them creased well. But this is the basic way that we're going to make this bracelet. There's lots of different ways you can change the colors. I'm going to do mine every other and it'll look kind of like this bracelet. Because I like that look. You can do multiples in a row of a color. That just gives it some different patterns and things. Now once you have your first one, I'm going to need to do another yellow. And the way you can think about this is yellows are always going to face this way. And the black ones are always going to run this way. So I'm going to grab a yellow, make sure I fold it back up. And you always put the open ends through the open ends. And if you look at the black here, you can see how the nice edges are towards us and the not so nice edges are turned away from us. So we want the nice edges facing towards us whenever we insert a color. Now the color that we're actually inserting, we want the nice edge facing away from us. So it's going to slide through the two open pieces. So the ugly edge is what we can see from the top and the nice edges are on the bottom, and we're just going to work it through this spot here. You might have to play with a little bit. You may need to first pry it open with your fingernails a little bit just to get the slide easier. Also, depending on what kind of paper you're using will determine how hard or easy this is. Construction paper, just because it's a little thicker, it sometimes can be a little more of a challenge to slide through. But you can see it starting to come through. I'm just going to keep working it down in there. And just like that, we have our next color connected. So we're going to grab a black, and once more, the color in the bracelet, we want the not so nice edges facing away from us, the nice folds towards us. The color that we're inserting, we want the nice edges away from us. And then we're going to insert through the bracelet. Here's another tip: if you pop it open with your fingernail like that, it'll slide through better. You'll get the hang of it as you assemble it more. It'll go faster once you get going. And now we've got the black one slid into the bracelet. I'm just snugging it up here. And you can see that it's a pretty nice snug fit. So once more, the nice edge of the bracelet is going to be towards us. The one that we're putting in, we're going to have the nice edge on the bottom. And then just keep inserting them one after the other, repeating this process until it's big enough to go around your wrist. So here we are. This is our almost completed bracelet. I have done 11 of each color, and when you end your bracelet, you're going to need to have the same number of each color. So if you start with the yellow, you're going to end with a black. You want to make sure that the bracelet is big enough to fit around your wrist. So when I measured this, it'll fit and those ends will overlap and it'll fit nicely. However, what you want to consider is, will you be able to get that on and off of your hand? Just because it goes around your wrist, doesn't mean you'll be able to get it on and off of your hand. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more of each color. But when I get to my very last one, I'm going to do something slightly different than I've been doing this whole time. So I need to put this black one in. This will be my last one. However, instead of putting it in folded up, I want to open it up when I put it in. So I'm going to have it like this. And I'm going to come to this side here, and I'm going to put these ends through here. So that side going in, I got to get this side in. I'm going to feed it through all the way like that. So now I have this one fed through here, but it's all the way open. And the goal is I'm going to feed it through this end here, and then tuck these ends under here, except that other yellow piece will be through here. So let's look at how we're going to do this. So if you look at this one here, you can see how it goes in the middle and it kind of folds on either side so you don't see any yellow. We're going to do something kind of similar, but we're going to kind of cheat a little bit on how we do this. Instead of trying to fit in between there, we're just going to put them both down one side. It's going to be like this. So I'm going to start feeding this guy through this side. This part can be a little bit more of a challenge. But there he goes. Now he's going through there, you can see. And I'm going to take this second piece, and he's going to come through the same spot. So it's going to be kind of like that. And the idea is we're just going to keep feeding that slack through. And then once you get to that corner kind of edge, you're going to pinch it. So the ends are just going to go right inside there. So that part right there, you can see a little bit of black between the yellow, even though you can't on the other ones. But it will blend in pretty well, won't be very noticeable. And it'll help your bracelet hold. So then once you get it fed through there, all the slack, you just kind of pinch this end to get it to stick really well. And then you get to put your bracelet on. And there you have it. You have a fun way to make a paper bracelet. And some of the things I like about these bracelets is they don't require a lot of time, a lot of skill, or a lot of materials. So that's always a good thing. And then I love the potential that these have. These bracelets could be friendship bracelets. They could be an after-school craft project. They could be a birthday party craft. You could even make these as a fundraiser for at your school. Make and sell bracelets in your school color. So lots of really cool creative potential with these bracelets. But I hope that you guys enjoy this tutorial. And as always, I want you to comment below. I want to hear what you thought about this. Tell me if you're going to use the bracelet for a school project or if you're going to use it as a friendship bracelet. Tell me what your ideas are on the bracelet. And then as always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. That means a lot to me, helps my videos get out there. And if you haven't already, you need to subscribe. And don't forget to hit the little bell thing beside the subscribe, because that just lets you know when new videos are out, so that way you never miss an update. And I hope that you have a great week. Happy crafting! So, true story, this has been quite the video to film because I was filming with the action camera and I was like halfway through when the battery died. And then I was filming, and halfway through filming again, the camera card got full. So then I got out this camera and I was filming, and this camera card filled up too. So then I had to go get a fourth camera card. Yeah, so it was quite an adventure filming this one today.